Welcome to Canadian Innovators, the show that celebrates innovation, entrepreneurs, and the Canadian spirit. I'm Steve Foxcroft. Every week, we introduce a new entrepreneur or expert in their field to tell their story. Today, I'm excited to introduce our audience to Brian and Daniel Miller, the father son duo from Miller Shoes. We talked about expert in the field, entrepreneurs. You guys are a little bit of both. Brian, the father, Daniel, the son, welcome to Canadian Innovators.
Thank you very much, Steve, for having us.
We're
Thank you,
we're
Steve.
excited. Yeah, this is great for me because I grew up in Hamilton. And big story, you guys are celebrating 100 years. Brian, tell us how that came to be.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but 100 years is crept up on us. I'm the third generation. My son Daniel's the fourth generation, and my grandparents started the business in 1926. My grandfather actually, it's a funny story. He started with 100 pair of shoes and 300 empty boxes. So it made the store look like he had a full inventory.
That's a genius move right there.
Yeah.
Daniel, tell me about you growing up. What were your first memories of the store?
I have very fond memories of going to the store as a child. My mom would bring us back. It's on James Street North. Back then, it was one way. Now it's two way. So I just remember the traffic coming barreling down, and we have to race across the street. And I remember my grandfather would be there, and he would take us out for candy. And I remember playing on with the Brannock device, the measuring and the fitting stool, treating it like a slide, and the low mirrors and everything. I don't remember any of the shoes though.
Right. Okay. So Brian, 100 years in business and that. So you started in downtown Hamilton. So tell us what downtown Hamilton, because we're going back, and maybe not for your first days because you would have came in after it started, but tell us about the downtown core at that time.
Well, that time there was streetcars, there were no buses. Um, James Street was actually, I believe, it was two-way originally, and my grandparents bought a building on James Street. My grandfather said he paid $1,000 down on it,
Wow.
and he opened up the store, and they lived above the building. And it was pretty much a tight-knit neighborhood in those days. As a matter of fact, about 10 or 12 years ago, wonderful story. A retired judge came into the store, and he told me about his memories of James Street and of the shoe store. He apparently lived across the street. And in the one winter, he didn't have boots. He was wearing plastic bags over his shoes. My grandmother dragged him into the store, fit him up with a pair of boots, and put a little note on his jacket to his mother, "Pay me when you can."
Oh.
And he said that's what it was like. Everybody looked after everybody else.
And then he
Very
went on to be a judge.
Yeah. And all those years later, he still remembered that.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And it goes to give you the human spirit of it too,
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah.
Now, I understand when you started out too, polio was common in children and so on, and that kind of helped get the store off and running.
Well, yeah, the vaccine hadn't been invented yet, and my father was sort of at the trail end of it. He was afflicted with polio, as were a lot of other children, and he happened to suffer from the knees down through his feet, and he had very short, very wide feet. Typical polio foot for the time.
Because that was common, right? I
Yeah, oh
guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Okay.
common. That was an epidemic.
Right.
And just to make my father comfortable, my grandmother started ordering extra wide children's shoes, and then she began modifying them. She cut them down the vamp or cut out the sides and put a bubble patch on them or anything to give my dad comfort.
Wow.
And word spread that my grandmother knew how to handle polio victims and fit them properly. And people started bringing their kids from miles around.
And that's kind of how things got
Well,
got
that's
started.
how we developed our original niche,
Right.
which was extra wide fittings, just
Okay.
through, just
And
from,
mostly kids, I guess, at the time.
yeah, kids
Yeah.
at the time. And then it spread into adults. And then after I guess in the 50s, my dad made the decision to move out of kid shoes and strictly into adults.
I love it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Daniel what it's like to be the fourth generation running Miller Shoes. Stay with us. That and much more when we return on Canadian Innovators. We're back. Our guests this week are the father and son team from Miller Shoes, Brian and Daniel Miller. And Daniel, now that the company's in its 100th year, you're the fourth generation. Not too many businesses get that far along, like to reach 4 generations. How do you feel about that? Do you feel any pressure to keep the family name and business going?
A little bit. I was never pressured as a child to work in the business. It was just because it was the family business, it was like the summer job that I had.
Right.
And then I went off to university and I continued to work in the business. And then I briefly worked at a different shoe store and it was fine. But working for someone else when you've worked for yourself is very hard. And I was just very happy doing this. And I kind of love the fact that it's a legacy. And we have this little hall of fame at the back of the store with these vintage photos of my great grandparents and my grandparents, and my dad all looking down. And we've got a few knickknacks, eclectic items that we've collected over the years hanging around the store. And I feel that legacy and like history is very important to me. I actually was a history major.
Okay.
So so I kind of love it, and I love the heritage and the legacy of it all.
Where'd you go to school?
What's U of T?
Oh, nice. Very good. But grew up in the Hamilton area.
Yeah, I grew up in the
Yeah.
Hamilton area.
Okay.
Yes.
We have family business. We have a whistle company, we have a trucking company, and I'm the son. So I can relate a little bit here. There was always pressure I found to be twice as good to be considered average by others. Like, because people will think, well, he's just there because he's the son. Do you feel that at all?
I don't know if I do. Maybe it's because of the genetics that I look just like my dad. Because honestly, people will come in and confuse us, and they'll be like, "Hey, Brian," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "I'm 30 years younger." And one of the things that I love is that we have multi-generational customers. So I'll be serving someone, and she'll tell me that her mother and her grandmother were customers. And then the other thing is someone will say, "Well, you're the fourth generation of Miller to sell me a pair of shoes." So I just love that.
Right. That is good. So he's right here. So this is kind of a tough question for you, but tell me about your dad, how he has helped teach you. Does he give you advice? Does he lead by example? How would you describe your dad?
Well, he does both. So for one, I learned how to sell shoes by watching him do it. Right?
Perfect.
It's osmosis.
Yeah.
There's not really a training to it. I learned how to buy shoes by watching him buy shoes and order shoes. But like he also will directly offer his opinions to me. And sometimes we agree and sometimes we disagree, but we can usually come to a pretty good compromise.
That's an interesting one because I think of you guys as selling shoes, but the buying part is so important, isn't it? Because you got to have what people like. So tell me about the buying part of it. Maybe
Well-
Brian, I'll start with you on that one.
Well, the key to it is knowing your customer, knowing what your customer is looking for. Once you know that, then you've got something in mind to shop for. Now we've got a lot of brands that we've bought for years and years, and we adapt their collections to our needs, and that's what makes a good buyer. You can't buy necessarily what's on trend today. It's what's on trend in your store, how it relates to your business.
It's got to be such an important part of it, though, right?
It's
Like,
the whole key to it.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's a bit of an unknown at first until I guess the little trial by air and learn as you go, I get.
Well, that's part of the exciting part of it as well, is it's almost as if you're a bit of a gambler.
Right.
You make an investment up front initially, and there's no guarantees.
That's right.
And companies won't take these things back.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah, it's not on consignment.
nope, it sure isn't.
So I asked Daniel what his first memories were of the store. What were yours?
Oh, my first memories were visiting my grandparents, his great grandparents in the store. And I had a wonderful opportunity given to me. I had the pleasure of working with both my grandparents and my father at the same time. So for a few years there were actually 3 generations
Wow.
in the store.
That's awesome. So, Daniel, I think of Miller shoes, I think of larger specialty sizes and stuff. Is that your niche?
We've got quite a few that we've developed over the years. On the one hand, the wide widths and the big sizes are very important to us, but we also do small sizes and we do narrow widths. And especially for women, that's a strong category for us. But I think that like there's just very few, if any, like there's hardly any old-fashioned shoe stores left. The
Okay.
kind of places where you come in and we measure your feet and we fit you up. And customers mention to it all the time. They'll say, I can't remember the last time someone did this.
Right.
Or this is what it was like when I was a kid. And I'm
I
like,
want to talk more about that, but we got to take a break. So let's expand on that after this commercial. You're watching Canadian Innovators. Stay with us. Welcome back. Joined by Brian and Daniel Miller of Miller Shoes in Hamilton. And guys, we were talking about the niche market a little bit and how you have to kind of be that nowadays, don't you, Daniel?
yeah, if you're an independent, there's no point even trying to compete with the majors because they're going to beat you in price. They're going to beat you in online. You have to offer something that they can't possibly offer, and that's personalized service and it's customer service, and it's also having a unique and specialty product. Because we were talking before about the buying. For us, we deal with a lot of very small boutique brands out of Europe, and you can actually do customizations. They'll give you a swatch book, they'll give you a model, and you can build your own shoes. And a lot of our clientele want that. They want something special and unique. And the experience of being able to come into the store, try on half a dozen shoes, find the perfect fit. A lot of times we have to do small alterations to the product. You cannot possibly replicate that online.
That's something, small alterations and stuff. I only think of that if I go in to buy a suit or something like that. But Brian, you guys do that as well?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Shoes are like pants. You
Right.
can let them out or take them in a little bit.
Okay.
But we like to think we carry a big enough selection, a broad enough selection of different fitting shoes that we can come pretty darn close to finding the right fit for you. And, we find that people travel a distance if they're difficult to fit or if they demand the customer service that goes with the product. And
So
we
when
offer
when I was a kid, they always put my foot in. You mentioned the name of the apparatus.
device.
Yeah, that thing. So, but then I go years without doing it because I've got away from Miller shoes. Like I need to come back and get my foot in there and get the service and so on. And I guess that's what makes you guys niche and different and keeps you going, right?
Well, we like to think everybody's got a closet full of shoes that aren't comfortable.
Right.
And what you wear on a regular basis are your most comfortable shoes. And I want them to be Miller shoes.
A good friend of mine, our family, Chuck Swirsky. He's the voice of Miller Shoes. So for the audience that doesn't know, Chuck Swirsky, play-by-play man for the Raptors, now he's Chicago Bulls. He's the voice of Miller Shoes. So Daniel, tell us how that came to be.
Well, he was the voice of
Oh,
Miller
right,
Shoes.
yeah. Then he
Unfortunately,
moved away.
Yeah, we lost him. But he did all the radio commercials for us, and I think he did it in exchange for shoes. And I have fond memories as a
Dad says
child.
no.
Okay, I have fond memories of a child of going to the Raptors games, showing up right when the doors opened, and the security be like, "What's in the bag?" And we'd be like, "Oh, a couple pairs of shoes for Chuck Swirsky." And he'd be like, "Okay, go in." And we'd go down to the court, and during the commercial breaks, he'd come over, say hi. He gave me his notes. It was great.
That's awesome. Now you guys do have some NBA connections and customers, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, we used to at one
Yeah.
time. Chuck would bring people into the store. Couple of players hard to fit,
Yeah.
a lot of large sizes. We carry up to size 16, 17. So
Wow.
What we see now more often is the mothers.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're going to have big feet too.
yeah.
And there's, a handful of NBA players in Southern Ontario, retired, current players, but I see the mothers more often than I
Okay.
see the actual players.
So that means you do men's and women's
oh yeah.
styles, right?
Oh yeah, women's is probably now. Women, it's almost 4-to-1. Women's business versus men's.
And when you do women, you mentioned they have bigger feet too, because
Yeah.
they're bigger women, probably because their
Yes,
kids are
of
in the
course.
NBA. Of course they are. So My girlfriend, example, she played volleyball at a high level, Division 1 in the States. So she has like a size 12 or 13.
She should come to us.
She's got to come to you guys then because she can't buy shoes.
Girls are getting taller. I have
Yeah.
girls coming in for their 8th grade grads who need size 13 shoes these days. It's incredible. And a lot of time they're just wearing unisex running shoes, but you need a dress shoe, you need a ballet flat or a pump or something.
Yeah.
Where else are you going to find it?
Yeah, and you guys have all that, right?
Oh,
From
yes.
flip-flop right on through. So
Yes.
so specialty items, this is where people got to go. So I'm glad you're here today because we're telling Canada and well, we'll talk about that. Let's take a break. I want to talk about online sales and so on because maybe not everyone can get into the location. So let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more on Canadian Innovators. Stay with us. Welcome back. So pleased to have Brian and Daniel Miller with us this week. Folks, they have been in business 100 years, so they must be doing something right, and we have to listen to what they're saying. So, guys, adapting has to be a big thing of business nowadays, and retail has to be a changing landscape with big boxes and so, like, all the stuff, all the competition. So tell us about how you have adapted to that over the years, because I know at one point you had a second location. Is online part of it? I'm firing too much at you, but I'll leave it with you to tell us about the changing landscape.
Oh, the landscape is constantly changing. We've um, we've tried to set ourselves apart by again relying on niche marketing, in particular niche footwear, hard to find sizes, and quality, comfort, high-end European fashion and casual. And that's what sets us apart. Now, the key for us for growth is uh, we're in Hamilton, but we certainly target the GTA, and that's a very important market to us. But we're looking for constant growth. And the only way to do that is grow across the country,
Mhm.
and that's through internet marketing.
Is that where Daniel comes in, being the voice of the computer kind of thing?
Absolutely no question about it.
So, Daniel, tell us about say, an online presence.
Okay. So in a perfect world, I want you in the store, but I
Mhm.
understand it's not possible. So we have an online store. We also do I do some social media videos, but and you can definitely order through the online store, but I would almost prefer it if you emailed or called me and explained to me what your foot issues are. I'll
Mhm.
happily take pictures of the shoes. I'll text them to you. We'll communicate back and forth because it's more there's a whole process to it. If you're just ordering the size, you're guessing, right?
Mhm.
I find customers need to try on several things just to find the right fit. So I love being able to communicate with people, to be able to have a dialogue, to be able to figure out what their needs are and be able to help them that way.
Now, we've talked about the niche market a lot, but do you sell to just size 11 and a half as well? Like just normal customers off the street that kind of
Oh yeah,
are the
of
regular
course.
sizes?
Um, we're still a downtown-based shoe store,
Right.
and we dependent on that. But what sets us apart from the mall stores is not just the service, but the quality of footwear we're offering.
Right.
Today, it's difficult to find that quality, and we've got a selection of it.
It's interesting when you talked about earlier the kids with polio and how their feet were different in that. I think I've been buying my shoes too big because then I get toenail issues and all that. Is that what causes it? Like the
Uh,
shoe might be too big?
oh, definitely. Probably a combination of you need a wider shoe.
Mhm.
If you get the width, you don't have to have the length.
Brian, what are you most proud of? 100 years in the family business. What are you most proud of?
To be honest with you, I'm probably most proud of my son Daniel. The way he's become accepted in the industry. He's extremely knowledgeable, and the people in the industry recognize that. Also, the way the customers um, have gravitated towards Daniel. He relates so well to seniors, he relates well to younger customers, and he has a passion and the flair for the business. And
I,
that's probably what I'm most proud of.
I can tell because earlier I asked him what he learned from you and how you were a leader, but literally a chip off the old block. So congratulations to you leading the way, and Daniel for you picking it up.
Thank
right?
you. Thank you.
So good for you. Where can people find you?
Okay, well, millershoes.com. We have our website. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
TikTok.
I make videos. I sometimes refer to myself as a shoefluencer. It's a little silly, but you know, I try to be funny. I try to be interesting. It's not generic. It's not AI. It's me. You're getting my personality in those
That's
videos.
awesome. So on TikTok, where do they find you?
Just Miller Shoes.
Like Miller Shoes.
I'll pop up. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Guys, really appreciate you coming in to share your story with our audience across the country today. And congratulations on 100 years in business.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you again for having Daniel and I.
Thanks so
Appreciate
much,
it.
Steve. Thanks for coming.
Thanks to the father-son team of Brian and Daniel Miller of Miller Shoes in Hamilton for joining us this week on Canadian Innovators. If you're an innovator, tell us your story. Write to us at ideas@thenewsforum.ca. Thanks for watching. I'm Steve Foxcroft. See you next time.